I'm making some one-way valves for putting into crankcase pressure fed fuel systems for model aeroplane engines. So that's mostly racing or speed. Certain kinds of speed, not tuned pipes or anything like that, but open exhaust, lots of nitro kind of speed. So they use crankcase pressure to feed the fuel tank and pressurize the fuel supply. And it works better if there's a one-way valve on that system so that fuel doesn't feed back into the engine through that vent. So these things here are the tiny little one-way valves, and they fit inside the fuel tube and make the crankcase pressure go to the tank without the fuel from the tank going back to the crankcase. Inside that little brass body is a 1mm steel ball, and that 1mm steel ball comes out of a 9x5 ball race. So smash it apart and you get about 9 balls, and I've lost a couple, so there's 3 in there and there's 2 there. So we're going to make some more of these with those 2 balls. Step 1: a 3mm diameter brass rod and a 1mm center drill. Step 2: 1.5mm drill into the brass, not about 5mm, exactly 5mm. And that's how I will measure it. Step 3: 0.8mm drill bit. It goes from the seat created by the 1.5mm hole and makes a hole that goes all the way out the other side, and the 1mm ball sits on that seat, and obviously it can't go through the 8.8mm hole, so that's what seals our fuel flow in that direction. Let's get one of the balls, pick it up with a magnet. There it is. And carry the ball on the magnet and put it in the hole. The magnet will try and pull it out, so you need to use your finger to put it in there. And it should stay there. And the magic trick is to use the magnet to suck it inside. Now the other end of the valve is plugged with this K&S 1/16 aluminium tube. Inside diameter is about 1/32, so that's 1.6mm outside, 0.8 inside. Obviously a 1.0mm ball isn't going to come out a 0.8mm hole, but what it might do is get stuck and plug that hole, so it ends up being not a one-way valve but a no-way valve. So what we do is cut a little notch in the end so that when the ball comes up against it, it rolls out of the way. So that's just a simple sort of 1mm notch filed in by hand. That's the easiest and quickest way to do it. And a scalpel blade to tidy it up. And the file to deburr it and taper the end of it so that you can get it in. So now we can feed the plug into the hole. The ball is already in there. Use a drill bit to make sure it lines up. And it won't go all the way in because the pressure of pushing it in squashes the aluminium tube a bit. So that's the end plugged with the ball inside. We can roll up the carriage 6.2 millimeters and mark the stopped end. And then move up another 1.5 to 8. 8.7 I suppose it is, and cut the other bevel and part it off. So there's our valve. It's only about 8.5 millimeters long, 3 millimeters in diameter, and in practice it goes all the way inside the pressure tube that goes from the crankcase to the tank. We don't want fuel flowing back into the crankcase, so the crankcase end is the one with the ring. So pressure can flow that way, but fuel can't flow back that way and flood the engine.